Okay, I am back, and let's get started with solution-focused brief therapy. This is Steve, and I'm so Kimberg. I hope I said that the correct way. But again, this is another one of your postmodern theories, where it's what we talked about. The client is the expert. The therapist is the collaborator. We're not telling them what to do. Just like I said in narrative therapy, we don't tell them what to do. They are the leaders of their own lives, right? We don't position ourselves as the experts. We don't diagnose or we don't interpret the problem, right? We just collaborate. We explore strengths, resources, and the possible solutions that they already have the answer to, right? We don't focus on a lot of the problem talk. We need to focus on how we are going to improve that issue, because talking about the problem means what's talking about the problem going to do. We need solutions, right? We need to be finding those exceptions to the problem when the problem isn't present or is less severe. Now, again, remember, in narrative therapy, that's also something you do in narrative therapy, but keep that in mind. Times when the problem isn't present or it is less severe. So pay attention to the different ones and the different ways that narrative therapists discuss this, as well as how solution-focused brief therapy discuss this, right? So remember these roles when it comes to the exam. Collaborative, which is collaborative therapy, same way. Narrative therapy, same way. Curious, not directive. Collaborative language is the exact same way. Not knowing stance, as well as narrative therapist. Empowering, same way. Narrative therapist, collaborative therapy. Focus on solutions and possibilities. That's solution-focused brief therapy. And purposeful questions, what a solution-focused brief therapist does. And we will get to the type of questions that a solution-focused brief therapist will ask for. Who's involved in therapy? Whoever shows up. But Stephen Inso also said, bring me that person that plays an important role in reaching those goals, because then that means that if that person plays an important role in reaching those goals, that means that this person is going to help you, or the therapist will be able to see how this person can help this other person, or both of them, reach that goal that they want to reach, which is doing what? Finding solutions to the problem so therapy can end in the first place. Therapy is short term. Once a solution is achieved, therapy ends. It's as simple as that, right? You got what you need and then you get out. So some of the goals in therapy, the goal setting is collaborative. That's across the board with everybody. When you see a question on the exam, please don't be sitting there trying to make those goals and that client has no idea what you're doing. It needs to be collaborative. Make sure that response is going to mean something like you and the client are engaged in making these goals together, right? The client themselves already knows the preferred solutions to the problem. The client is the expert. The therapist is not going to do anything. Help identify if the goal is going to be specific enough or attainable in order for them to get there. Makes sense? The client already knows the preferred behaviors, the interactions that they've been having. The therapist will help this client increase that. The therapist will help that client increase the number of times that those preferred behaviors and interactions occur, so that if that's going to lead you to finding solutions to the problems, then the solution-focused therapist is simply going to tell you, then you need to do more of it. You just need to do more of it. And then this is the phases of therapy. Now, remember, collaborative therapy and narrative therapy does not have a phase of therapy. But solution-focused brief therapy starts off with doing what? Joining in a family. And if you've watched my video on how you recognize the phases of therapy in a question, this is how, again, this paves way to it. Early phase, joining with the client. They're defining the problem. Exceptions are then identified, which is when the problem wasn't present or when it was less severe, right? The formula first task question and the miracle question is done in the early phase of therapy. And that the formula first task question is simply, how do you feel since the phone call, since you've gotten to me for therapy? What do you think was solved since the first phone call that we have, since your first session in therapy? What is it that you don't want to change, since the first phone call in therapy? And then, of course, the good old miracle question. If you went to sleep tonight and woke up and there was a miracle happened, and how would you know that a miracle had happened? The miracle question. I think this is one that everybody is well versed in when it comes to the miracle question, right? And then the middle phase, those are your interventions, scaling, exceptions, compliments. finding out how the problem is going to be solved. Once we find out how the problem is solved, you just need to do more of it. You just got to do more of it. Late phase, positive patterns. Again, do more of what is doing. We want to increase the number of times that these preferred behaviors and these interactions that you're having, since they've been working, we need to do more of it. Again, from the middle phase onto the late phase, you are still doing the interventions of scaling questions, exception questions, and compliments. Once the problem is solved, the treatment is going to be over. Treatment ends, right? So you only do the miracle question in the early phase of therapy. Please don't be trying to do that miracle question and that client then already solved this issue and they leaving out the door. Don't go back in the phases of therapy. I talked about that in my other video. You cannot go back in the phases of therapy. The phases of therapy cannot be out of sync. There is a flow to the phases of therapy. All right, here are some of the key terms. Again, the miracle question. It's just a hypothetical question for the clients to be able to see what their life is going to be like without the problem. If a miracle happened tonight and the problem was gone, what would be different tomorrow? I do it with my clients all the time, and sometimes they look at me like I'm crazy, but hey, whatever. Scaling question. This is just simply exactly what it is. We're measuring the progress. On a scale from 1 to 10, how confident are you that you are able to get through this situation alone? On a scale from 1 to 10, where's your anxiety? On a scale from 1 to 10, where's your depression? Scaling question. Exception questions. When did the problem happen? When was the problem less intense? This is the therapist's way of finding out what is working. And whatever is working, you need to be doing more of it. Can you tell me about a time when the problem wasn't as bad, right? And if it wasn't that bad, what did you do differently, or what was going on that was differently that made the problem less intense? Those are exception questions. Okay? Now, these are the other three: the visitor, the customer, and the complaint. I don't think anybody said anything about this being on the exam or anything, but yes, the visitor is the one. They don't think that they have a problem. They probably the one sitting over there in the corner on their phone, rolling their eyes, don't want to be there because 9 times out of 10, somebody told them that they had to be there, right? Think about it the same way. If a person has to be court mandated to go to therapy, they're considered the visitor because you really think they want to be there. They don't want to be there, right? The complaint. This is the one who recognizes a problem, but they are not going to be changing until the other people start changing. They ain't taking no personal action until they see other people changing, until they see other people move. Oh, when you move, I move. That's exactly how it is when it comes to the complaint. Now, the customer, these are your ones who want to be there. These are the ones who want to make the change. They acknowledge the problem and they're coming to therapy because they feel like therapy is going to be able to help them get through those issues that they're having. We like the customers because the customers are the ones that are not going to resist. But that complaint and that visitor just might. Alrighty, so how do we recognize this on the exam? So, again, solution-focused brief therapy has terms that are not like any others. I don't think, other than narrative therapy, because sometimes narrative therapy and solution-focused brief therapy kind of run together, but they also have terms that are like no other. The miracle question. The only model that uses the miracle question is solution-focused brief therapy. So if you see anything on the exam about a miracle question, you automatically know solution-focused brief therapy. Small, achievable goals, definitely. If it ain't broke, don't fix it is also a term for solution-focused brief therapy. Keep that in mind. When the problem is not present, look at that as well. What you won't see, and I put that in red, solution-focused brief therapy, narrative therapy, and collaborative therapy really don't explore childhood or past trauma. It's not long-term therapy, and it's not about diagnosis. So this is what you won't see in solution-focused brief therapy. You won't see it in narrative, and you won't see it in collaborative. Okay, keep that in mind. In the same way with collaborative therapy, it is just the language. It's just working on changing the language that the client uses, things of that nature. All three of these models kind of run together on the exact same wavelength. Client is the expert. We don't tell them what to do. Keep that in mind. So they kind of like run in together with each other: solution focus, narrative therapy, and collaborative therapy. Okay, that includes all three of the postmodern theories. If you have any questions, as always, leave a message me, leave a comment, whatever the case may be. I will always respond. So happy Tuesday to everyone again. The song of the day is Look What the Lord Has Done by Travis Green and Ford City. If you are a spiritual person like I am and you love your elevation music, go ahead and listen to it. Let it minister to you, because these words in this song, it's very, very powerful. To my June testers, how are we feeling? If you haven't tested yet, leave a comment or whatever. Let me know where your anxiety is and let me know where your confidence is, because those are two major factors for you being very, very successful on this exam. We need our anxiety to be down and our confidence needs to be through the roof. Alrighty, I'll talk to you guys later.